What up traders, what up investors, Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and we're currently going to be looking at some of the trade ideas that I shared with the YouTube membership group, and as well that I shared just a handful of them with the Patreon crew as well, mostly with the YouTube membership group. You can check out those down by hitting that join tab and seeing if you're interested in doing that. Basically just kind of gives you a little better learning of what the crazy mind of my thinking behind entering trades and how to execute them, and kind of just give me some potential trade ideas. Not all of them were taken. Sometimes, again, like we'll talk about one particular one like Fastly. Fastly just took off too much. I wasn't able to get in the full size that I wanted. So that being said, we're going to be popping into the first one here. We're going to be basically looking at Amazon. We posted this a little over a week ago, basically saying Amazon would be a nice support area around the 21 EMA, aka that beautiful purple line there. So looking here at Amazon, that was basically around the 10th of August. Of course, that kind of did hit that 21 EMA and just was a great little buying opportunity, and now just continually riding it up, looking for some potential profit taking once it broke around that 32.46. They had a huge gap up day, a lot of volume coming in. Now slightly consolidating, potentially trying to test that all-time high and really get to that $3,500 strike price, sorry, $3,500 target price from that on forth. The next one, we're just going to kind of go through this fairly fast, is the Wally mark. Wally mark, we talked about some really important Fibonacci retracements. Again, this is pre-earnings. I highlighted it with some big, large red arrows saying, hey, earnings could be a coin flip. Be very careful. I'm not going to be risking too much size going into this particular play due to the fact of earnings, but Walmart setting up with a nice squeeze and the overall consolidation pattern I really do like. That being said, let's go ahead and check out the old Wally mark. Wally mark, again, we talked about it, had a nice earnings run. Huge pop up on earnings, hitting literally that 1272 extension at the 137.80 price, hit it high around 137.63. Great entry. Again, we talked about that entry basically a couple days prior, around the 10th or the 11th, basically getting around 130 and really seeing that move pop up $7. Again, if you had options on that, that would have been fantastic. We sold some puts and we did some longer dated leaps on this one to kind of take advantage of this. Now kind of coming back down, showing some support around the 130 price target. Still really like this play, honestly. This would be a great entry to basically get back in. Really want to see that above that 134 to, again, test that 137, 138 price target there. Next one, we're going to call about the Alibaba. Alibaba, of course, this is another particular play that was very popular in the last week or so, was a potential earnings run. Of course, BA we talked about potentially, again, like we just talked about with Amazon, coming down to the 21 EMA on the daily side and seeing a potential building of a base, potentially with the momentum that we can see, especially with a lot of these very fast moving stocks. It could even come down to the 34. So be mindful of that here. So we can look at Alibaba. That being said, it came down to that 21, broke through it. We did say, again, between the 21 and 34 is a reasonable buying opportunity. That was entered. Of course, then now you see a nice little continuous flow higher, looking to potentially start breaking out above that 270 price target that we have here, or 268 to be precise, and really looking for potentially 280 in the near term if all things are firing on all cylinders. This looks really good with the RSI and volumes on oscillator, and you're seeing a lot of volume come in after earnings. This is always a great looking sign there. And one that really threw a head fake for me and actually was super difficult one to purchase and was down a little bit for one day, but then it made a crazy V-shaped recovery, and that was Zoom. Zoom came on the radar. Again, we were looking for support between the 21 and 34 EMA, really for waiting for some little bit more confirmation. We had a super long-term squeeze set up here, and then looked for that potential movement here. So let's go ahead and swing over to Zoom. Really, we're looking and buying in this range between the 20 and 34, basically around the 250 price. So I purchased some shares and some longer dated December or January calls, giving myself plenty of time. But then the next day I woke up and it was down dramatically, I was like 20 points. But that being said, on that day, I still had the onslaught of like, hey, if it really starts breaking below the support levels, this 55 EMA here and really kind of see this potentially break even lower than the previous day, then I would have to really get out. Again, since I had a larger amount of shares than I had call options, so that the overall, like, it still was down like 15 or 20 bucks per share, but that being said, that still wasn't as dramatically as if I had straight call. So I got a very lucky break here, and that I was able to really not feel too much of the pain here and kind of potentially ride it out because I had the overall confidence of this trend being in place. So again, it was a confidence of the pattern and then really of the confidence of the fundamental stuff that I'm just seeing in the news. Of course, Zoom is being a huge component. It was in between the 50 and 55 EMAs and simple moving average, which basically where hedge funds buys it. So if this was a little bit lower and it got down to like 220, which I had that trigger there basically to get out of Dodge, the $225, that would be basically like you need to get out of those shares immediately. And that was my stop there. But it never got to that point, so I was very fortunate, again, lucky, and it just rebounded dramatically. Again, we're looking at basically how we looked at Amazon and Alibaba, looking for that really kick move higher. Again, breaking an all-time high just today, well above 295, looking for that price target above 307. This could be easily reached before earnings. So yeah, great stuff there. And this is actually one that we actually posted today to the members. Basically, a trade idea for Space. Space has been having quite a few issues, kind of losing momentum and just really kind of falling back down to earth, no pun intended. With Space here, we're looking for this trade still somewhat kind of building out. We're still not into this yet. Potentially looking to add here. Actually, today would have been, I think I didn't buy any shares here today. I think I actually did purchase a leap actually in Space today. I did actually. Towards the end of the day, we purchased the $17 strike price leap that was expiring. Let me check. In November. So, giving us a little bit of our time. We're seeing the overall volume coming down. So the thing is, what we like to see is that if the volume is increasing, the further down it goes, that's scary. And it's always difficult to kind of see when it bottoms. You're never going to find the bottom 100% of the time. You just have to go for it sometimes, and then just keep it on a short leash. And if it continues to bleed, you just have to get out. It's just the risk of trading and just the overall understanding of that. Hey, there's going to be risk. You're not going to make money on every single trade. That being said, with that falling price here, the 5 and 8 are still showing some negative signs. But before, we've seen this negative movement coming into the 200 EMA here. So the 200 EMA is basically around like 1650, and we're still above that. Can we break below that? Yes, we can easily break below that and hit about $15. So this is going to be where my hard stop is going to be in place, around 1520 to 1512 for that potential stop into Space. Really looking to kind of see this start consolidating here, potentially plus or minus a buck, basically from this 200 EMA. That's where I'm kind of giving it a little bit of room because, again, Space needs its space, right? So it kind of needs to kind of work its magic. Like, I think this is a very speculative play without a doubt, but I think that there's a lot of good news that could be coming out of this company, and then potentially seeing it back up to 21. Really love to see it up to $30 if there can really get some momentum here. Again, we bought some calls out way in November, so it's quite a ways out, so gave it quite a bit of time to see on how that plays out. Next one, I kind of want to highlight one. This is actually one I wasn't for the members. I just posted this directly to the community tab within YouTube here. Basically just talked about some Fibonacci technical analysis on MU. So MU, of course, has been really much a beaten down stock, really getting hit hard on a lot of that Intel news and things like that, and just the Western Digital and just the semiconductors completely. We talked about support kind of coming in around the 42.25. Guess what? It bounced on Thursday, kind of held that on Friday. Not saying this is going to hold, but we would want to see this potentially to start consolidating at around the $42 to $41 here. If that doesn't want to hold, we want to go all the way down to potentially to 37 or even lower if it really gets really negative news. it's always hard to catch these falling knives. Potentially looking for a kind of a bounce trade here. This is one which we didn't take. This is just kind of one showing the power of the Fibonacci retracements, looking for to kind of hold that $42.25 and start having these moving averages kind of start curling and start getting more of a parallel to these lines here, and looking for some consolidation, base building, and start seeing that price move up potentially to 46.30 there. Next is one that we really got on our radar and it just really took off quite dramatically, is Fastly. So Fastly is one that really came on my radar that morning. I really liked the base pattern there. Everything was looking to peak out. What really kind of gave it away was the volume zone oscillator was really coming in. And we saw this. Let's go ahead and just check out the chart here on Fastly real fast, and I'm going to show you on why basically it's hard to hide movement when there's so much volume coming in. So this really came on the radar just basically on Tuesday night actually into Wednesday. Came on the radar. I was like, this looks interesting. The 5 and 8 were starting to kind of level off here. We had at least a week of a strong downward support here, really kind of coming in or basically around the 50-day, which is the simple moving average, is the red line here. Of course, we call that the hedge fund line. Basically, hedge funds like to eat things up there. That being said, we're seeing that movement really quickly switch here. And we've seen that 5 and 8 start curling up. This trade's still somewhat intact, but this large red candle or green candle really wasn't expecting this. It was basically like I think it was like a 12 or 13% day on the stock. Since this has been a previous runner, it's known and it has the basically the DNA of potentially making these large breakout moves. So that's what we're hyping and really looking for to kind of see that pattern continue. Really looking for it to continue to potentially try to break out. Again, we closed down a little bit today, nearly 4%, but that trade's still intact here. If it's still, as long as it holds the 21 EMA here, so it stays above 83, we can look for some potential consolidation here and start testing the $95 to $100 price target within Fastly. Another one we have on the board here is eBay. So this is actually another one we just did a couple days ago. eBay was kind of tight consolidating on some very basic fib analysis here on the daily chart. So again, everything's really tied to the daily side. We're seeing that pattern kind of come into fruition here. We looked again here, kind of holding this pattern to kind of start break above the 618 here, potentially around the $58 price target. Got in basically around the the $57-ish price target, $57, kind of rode up just a little bit. Nothing to really write home about. I think this trade has a little bit more room to run without a doubt. Really want to see this above $60 to $61. Since the squeeze has fired today, that doesn't mean that the trade's over. What I'm really looking for, since this movement is going higher, there hasn't been much volume coming in here. So I'm really waiting to see potentially next week. We could see a large spike in volume and potentially people driving into this after they do their weekend research and potentially this kind of comes on the board. Everything looks fairly strong here on the technical sides, and eBay, of course, is crushing it due to the pandemic, the stay-at-home stuff, and people just really shopping online. Let's see what we got left here. We got, last but not least, is Work. This is actually one we did not take, but I kind of wanted to share with the members to kind of look on where I was doing. Potentially going to be doing within Patreon and mostly on the YouTube join tab with more the higher stages of the members of just showing potentially what I'm trading, potentially what I'm really looking at in the sense of like all the stocks I'm looking at. So I just think it might be a little bit overwhelming, and there's not a great way for me to present that. So I'm really kind of going back and forth if I need to kind of tie that back into Patreon and maybe do like a nightly video to look at all the different things that I'm looking at, because it could be a combination of like 10 or 15 different companies, and just kind of waiting, having that list, kind of adding some, taking them off, and kind of seeing where they pan out. So I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do that yet to share and kind of educate everyone here, but I'm working on it. I'm really trying. So with Work, this has been one that just been really on my short list, honestly, in the sense of why is this this stock has just been a dud, a lack of a better words. Really came on back of my radar once it kind of broke below that 200 EMA, and then built a pretty strong consolidation pattern from the previous swing high to low around that 50% retracement, so around the $27 to $28. And then we saw again very just steady eddy patterns. We saw the TTM squeeze, momentum switch here. We saw the RSI start building up, and same as the volume zone also start crossing over. So it was basically around this day, it was around $28, where we're like, hey, this could really potentially break out with some of the movement that we're seeing here. But again, you're not seeing a smorgasbord or an overwhelming thing of volume coming in here. Again, this really just kind of gave a lot of its earnings or its gains back, because again, it's a high about $30, where basically we wanted to see it, but it just failed here basically at the 55 EMA, and now coming back down, still closing above the 200, which is a good sign somewhat, but it's still below the 21 EMA, so this is kind of a dud. So I'm glad this would have been very much a short-term trade and not something I wanted to be investing long-term, but this would be a great little runner from basically $28 to $30-ish if you got into that move there. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're interested on going to join the Patreon page, I have that down below, as well as I have the YouTube join tab as well. Again, some of the look at what fits best for you. There's different ranges. Again, it directly helps support the channel and helps the ongoing training and the fun stuff that we do for the YouTube channel and for the overall just spreading the fun passion project of trading, investing, or charting. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. This is Ken from Dyslexic Investor, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace!